Have you ever stopped to wonder if the world you see, hear, and feel is, the world as it actually is? Or is it more of a story, a carefully constructed version that your brain creates just for you? Well, that's exactly what we're going to get into as we explore the incredible difference between what our senses pick up and what our mind decides it all means.
Okay, let's jump right in. Take a quick look at this image. What's the very first thing that pops out at you? For some of you, it's a white vase. For others, it's two black faces looking right at each other. Now here's the fun part. Try to see the other one. You can kind of flip between them, can't you? But here's the most important thing. The image itself, the pixels on the screen, they aren't changing one bit. Your perception of it is.
And that little exercise leads us right to the huge central question we're tackling today. How much of what we experience is just pure, raw data from the world? And how much of it is an interpretation, a creation, happening inside our own heads? The answer, it turns out, is hidden in two processes that are linked, but totally different.
To get to the bottom of this, we need to understand the two sides of the coin that make up any experience. You have the physical act of sensing the world, and then you have the mental act of perceiving it. They might sound like the same thing, but as you're about to see, they are worlds apart.
Here's probably the best way to think about it. Sensation is like going to the grocery store and just gathering up all the raw ingredients. Your eyes, your ears, your skin, they're just collecting stuff. Light waves, sound waves, pressure, that's it. But perception? That's the master chef in your brain. That's the finished meal. It's the complex, meaningful, and sometimes surprising dish that your brain cooks up using those ingredients, plus a little secret sauce of your own memories and expectations.
So let's get just a little more technical for a second. Sensation is the purely biological part. It's step one. It's when a stimulus, say light from a lamp, hits a sensory neuron in your eye. That neuron then fires off a tiny electrical signal called a neural impulse. And that's all sensation is. It's just raw, unorganized data being sent up to the brain for processing.
But then comes step two, perception. And this is where the real magic happens. Your brain gets this absolute flood of simple signals, and it starts to interpret them, to organize them, to make sense of it all. It builds your internal reality, your working model of the world. And, this is the crucial part, it's all guided by your past experiences. What you've seen before shapes what you see now.
All right, so before we get into all the clever ways the brain interprets things, let's just take a quick look at the hardware. How do our bodies actually do that initial data collection from the world around us?
First off, our senses aren't like cameras that are just on and recording everything all the time. Nope, they have limits. For any of your senses to even notice something, the signal has to be strong enough to cross what's called the absolute threshold. This is just the bare minimum amount of energy, the faintest whisper, the dimmest light, that your body can detect. Anything below that, it's like it never even happened. So right from the start, we're not experiencing everything that's really out there.
Really, what this shows us is that each of our sense organs is a highly specialized translator. The eye takes light waves and translates them into the language of color and pattern. The ear translates sound waves into tones and music, and your tongue, nose, and skin do the exact same thing for different kinds of chemicals and for pressure. They're all just converting different types of physical energy into the one and only language the brain speaks, neural impulses.
Okay, so once all of that raw, translated data floods the brain, what happens next? How does our brain build a stable, coherent picture of reality from all that chaos? Well, it turns out it doesn't have to start from scratch every single time. It's got a rulebook.
Your brain is an absolute pattern-detecting machine. It doesn't look at every single dot of light individually. Instead, it takes shortcuts. It uses these built-in rules to instantly group sensory information into whole objects that make sense. And this is likely a survival thing, right? These rules helped our ancestors quickly spot a predator hiding in the bushes, or tell which fruit was good to eat. It's all about making sense of the world, and making sense of it fast.
For instance, you've got the law of proximity. This just means our brain automatically assumes things that are close together belong together as a group. Or the law of closure, which is why your brain can see a circle that isn't fully drawn and it just fills in the blank for you. Your brain is always working to create simple order out of messy reality.
And here is one of the brain's most amazing tricks. It's called perceptual constancy. This is the reason our world feels stable and predictable, and not like some chaotic, shifting cartoon. It's how you recognize an object as the same object, even when the raw data your senses are getting is changing like crazy.
Just think about a door opening. As it swings, the actual shape of the image hitting your retina changes from a rectangle into a trapezoid, and then just a thin vertical line. But do you perceive the door as magically changing its shape? Of course not. Your brain just overrides the raw data. It says, nope, I know that's a door, and doors are rectangles, and it keeps your perception of it stable. That's shape constancy right there in action.
So these organizing rules are incredibly useful shortcuts, right? They help us navigate the world without getting overwhelmed. But, and this is a big but, what happens when those shortcuts lead us down the wrong path? What happens when the system gets fooled?
Well, that's when we enter the world of illusions. Now, it is really important to get this straight. An illusion is not the same as a hallucination. A hallucination is seeing something that isn't there at all. An illusion is when there is a real stimulus in the world, but your brain just misinterprets the data it's getting from it.
Let's look at the super famous Mueller-Lyer illusion. Which one of those horizontal lines looks longer to you? For pretty much everybody, the bottom line, the one with the fins pointing out, looks way longer than the top one. But if you were to get a ruler and measure them, you would find they're the exact same length. It's not a trick on the screen, it's a trick in your head. Your brain's rules about how we see corners and depth are fooling you into seeing something that just isn't true. Wild, right?
Now, you might be thinking these are just fun little party tricks. But understanding that our perception is a construction, and a pretty flawed one sometimes, has massive, massive consequences out in the real world.
Because it's not just about lines on a page. The very same mental shortcuts that make one line look longer than the other are at work all the time, shaping how we remember events, how we judge other people, and how reliable we are as eyewitnesses. And in those cases, the stakes are so much higher.
And this is especially true when the pressure is on. Research is incredibly clear about this. When we are stressed out, when we're surprised, when we feel threatened, our perceptual system gets even less reliable. Your brain's #1 job becomes survival, not making a perfect, high-fidelity recording of what just happened. And that can lead to some major distortions in what we honestly believe we saw.
So this is where we'll end. Realizing that what you see isn't a direct photograph of reality, but an interpreted story your brain tells you, well, that's a really powerful idea. It kind of forces us to be a little more humble, a little more curious, and to ask ourselves a pretty critical question. If my perception is a story, what other stories that I'm absolutely sure are true might be worth questioning?